What is Buddhism? Buddhism is a spiritual tradition that originated in ancient India and is based on the teaching of Siddhartha Gautama, known as the Buddha. It emphasizes the understanding of suffering, the impermanent nature of existence, and the path to liberation from suffering through practices such as meditation, ethical living, and cultivating wisdom and compassion.
Buddhism, founded by Siddhartha Gautama, as known as Buddha or Enlightened One, is one of the major world religions. It's oriented in ancient India around the 5th century BCE and has since spread across Asia. And beyond, at its core, Buddhists offer a path to spiritual awakening and liberation from suffering through the understanding of Four Noble Truths and practice of Eightfold Path.
Siddhartha Gautama, better known as the Buddha, was, according to legend, a Hindu prince who renounced his position and wealth to seek enlightenment. As a spiritual ascetic, attained his goal and, in preaching his path to others, founded Buddhism in India in the 6th-5th centuries BCE. At the age of 29, the events of his life are largely legendary, but he is considered an actual historical figure and a younger contemporary of Mahavira. Prophecy was given at Siddhartha's birth that he would become either a powerful king or great spiritual leader. Siddhartha left his palace and began a life of asceticism, studying under various spiritual teachers and practicing extreme forms of self-denial. However, he soon realized that such extreme practices did not lead to enlightenment, but instead weakened that body and mind.
Four Noble Truths, one of the fundamental doctrines by Buddhism, said to have been set forth by Buddha, the founder of the religion, in his first sermon, which is gave the enlightenment.
Through suffering. The first truth, suffering, Pali Dukkha, Sanskrit Dukkha, is a characteristic of existence in the realm of rebirth, called samsara, literary wandering. In his final sermon, the Buddha identified as form of suffering birth, aging, sickness, death, encountering the unpleasant separation from the pleasant, not gaining what one desired.
Noble cause suffering. Cravings or tanha is the insatiable desire and greed that keep us. Link it to pain. We don't want to suffer, but our misguided pursuit of a happiness and stability that's based on impermanent pleasure, object, and people only leads to dissatisfaction.
The truth of the end of suffering has dual meaning, suggesting either the end of suffering in this life on earth or in the spiritual life through achieving nirvana. When one has achieved nirvana, which is a transcendent state free from suffering and our worldly cycle of birth and rebirth, spiritual enlightenment has been reached.
A life without any extremities to bring one to the end of suffering. This stage requires a life of moderation. Buddhists define nirvana as the state of enlightenment achieved when one is free from all suffering, desire, and a sense of self.
We have a Noble Eightfold Path. The Noble Eightfold Path is a core teaching in Buddhism, offering a practical guide to living a balanced and technical life. It consists of 8 interconnected principles or practices: right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Following this path leads to the cessation of suffering and the attainment of enlightenment.
The right view in Buddhism entails understanding the nature of reality, including the impermanence of all things, the law of cause and effect, and the nature of suffering. It also involves seeing things as they truly are, free from delusion of distortion, and aligning one's perspective with insights of Four Noble Truth. The right intention of core intention of Buddhism is to alleviate suffering and attain enlightenment by understanding the true nature of reality, overcoming attachment, and cultivating compassion, wisdom, and mindfulness.
Right speech. The right speech in Buddhism refers to speaking truthfully, kindly, and beneficially. It involves avoiding lying, harsh language, and divisive speech. Right speech aims to promote harmony, understanding, and compassion in communication. The fourth. The right action in Buddhism refers to ethical conduct or behavior that aligns with principles such as non-violence, honesty, compassion, and mindfulness. It involves refraining from harming living beings, avoiding stealing, practicing honesty, abstaining from sexual misconduct, and avoiding intoxicants that clouds the mind. Essentially, it's about living in a way about promotes harmony, kindness, and understanding in both thought and action.
Right livelihood in Buddhism refers to earning a living in a way that is ethical and does not harm to oneself or others. It involves engaging in work that promotes well-being, honesty, compassion, and contributes positively to society. This includes avoiding professions that involve harming living beings such as selling weapons, trading in intoxicants, or engaging in the sinful practices. Right effort in Buddhism refers to the diligent and balanced effort to cultivate wholesome qualities such as compassion, mindfulness, and wisdom, while simultaneously abandoning unwholesome qualities such as greed, hatred, and ignorance.
Right concentration in Buddhism refers to the practice of cultivating focused attention and mental stability through meditation. It involves training the mind to become absorbed in a single object, leading to deeper levels of awareness, tranquility, and insight. Right mindfulness in Buddhism involves being fully present and aware in the present moment, absorbing thoughts, feelings, and sensations without judgment or attachment. It cultivates a clear awareness of one's body, feelings, mind, and phenomena, leading to insight and liberation from suffering.
Three Jewel of Buddhism. Three Jewel when publicly professing conversation to the Buddhism faith, one will often proclaim, I take refuge in Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. In fact, important are the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. They are referred to as the Trinata or the triple gem of Buddhism. To proclaim devotion to these three things is to be a Buddhist.
The first jewel of the Triratna is the Buddha, being rather easy to remember. The first jewel doesn't merely signify the founder of the Buddhist faith. Yes, it has him at its basis. However, it goes a step further, since Buddha is believed to have been the first man to truly understand wisdom and the way to enlightenment. This jewel also signifies the fulfillment of enlightenment. Therefore, when a Buddhist claims to take refuge in the Buddha, he's also saying that enlightenment in itself is his refuge. In other words, to be enlightened is to be truly safe and secure.
The second jewel of Tiratna is the Dharma. Stated very simply, then are the teaching of Buddha to Buddhism. Then are the way to truth
to follow them into be on the path to enlightenment, being based of the Four Noble Truth of Buddhism, or the four core belief on which Buddhism is based. The Dharma is symbolized by the Buddhism wheel. Again, merely scratching the surface, the Dharma teaching, then following the Four Noble Truth will release a person from fear and ignorance, when and only when they follow them in their daily lives. In another world, if you follow them, I give you refuge.
This brings us to our third and last jewel of the Triratna, the Sangha. In the original teachings of Buddhism, the Sangha was a very exclusive term used to denote monks, nuns, and teachers of Buddhism. However, as the faith aged, the term broadened to include any group that joins together to practice or meditate on the teachings of the Buddhism.
A philosophy, religion, spirituality path of whatever you call it. The Dharma is able to show the way to revelation for everyone, regardless of origin or background. That is the great power of the truth that leads to revelation. Now, 2,500 years later, we can discern three major schools within Buddhism: Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. The Theravada is the school of the eldest, began to take shape around 250 BC, is considered the most orthodox from the Buddhism, and has followers mainly in Southeast Asia, especially in Myanmar, Thailand, and Sri Lanka. The Vipassana movement, and by the extension the mindfulness hype. It is modern-day school within Theravada Buddhism. Mahayana is the grace bicycle, slowly come into the being around the 1st century BC, with contemporary followers mainly in China, Japan, and Korea. Famous schools within Mahayana Buddhism include Zen and Pure Land.
Buddhism is a religion that originated in ancient India and has since spread across many parts of the world. It has profoundly impacted culture and society, influencing how people think, behave, and interact. Buddhism has left a significant mark on the world, from art to literature, politics, and economics. Today, we will discuss the influence of Buddhism on culture and society detail, exploring its impact in various aspects.
Exploring the involving role of women within Buddhism institution, delving into ongoing debates surrounding gender equality, leadership opportunities, and the empowerment of women in traditional Buddhism contexts, examine the dynamic landscape of contemporary Buddhism, analyzing diverse interpretation of Buddhism teachings in the context of evolving societal norms, technological advancement, and global interconnectedness, while addressing the challenges of opportunities they present for practitioners and scholars alike.
Buddhism is a non-theistic religion founded by Gautama Buddha, the Enlightened One. Buddha's teachings, also known as Dharma or Dhamma, as aim entirely at liberation of humans from suffering. It reveals truth as taught by the Buddha and encourages people to follow the Noble Eightfold Path, which will lead them towards achieving enlightenment. Buddha gave importance to virtues such as wisdom, kindness, generosity, patience, and compassion.